Dear students, this is the session 9 video of module 2 and also it is the last session for this module. So in this video we are going to discuss on different types of wall. So as it is mentioned in your syllabus that we need to discuss on different types of walls, in that partition wall, cavity wall and load bearing walls. So far in the masonry part, we have seen two different types of materials are used to make a masonry, that is brick and stone. So those two are mainly for load bearing walls, but bricks are used for partition wall construction also. Okay. Uh, Other than this, there are some other materials are also used to construct the partition walls that we'll discuss in this video. Okay. So wall is the one of the most essential components of the building. The primary function of the wall is to enclose or divide the space of a building to make it more functional and useful. So walls provide privacy, afford security and give protection against heat, cold, sun and rain. So walls provide support to floors and roofs. So these are the functions in brief. So the wall may be defined as a vertical load bearing member. So the stone masonry and brick masonry, which we have already discussed, are used to make the or to construct the wall. So now these walls should take vertical load length of which exceeds the 4 times the thickness. So this is for the load bearing wall. So what are the functions here? To provide the protection from weather or animals, and to provide the area, divide the areas, to act as a sound barriers, as fire of walls to attenuate the spread of fire from the building unit to another. It will obstruct the spreading of fire. Separate the interior spaces to improve the building appearance and to provide the privacy for the people who lives there. Okay. Materials for walls. So timber, brick, concrete block and reinforced concrete can also be used for a wall construction. So timber, brick, concrete blocks and reinforced concrete also can be used as for wall construction. So load bearing and partitions wall, these are the uh, two different categories of the wall actually. So basically they are into two types. We say it is a load bearing wall and non load bearing wall or partition wall. Both are same actually. Um, so load bearing walls are those which are designed to carry superimposed loads in addition to their own weight. So non load bearing walls carry their own load only. So in a simple way to say, load bearing walls don't have any columns here, RCC columns. In a non-load bearing wall, you have a framed structure. Over that, uh, along with that, you are going to construct the partition walls. There, the partition walls will not take any loads. They take only the load of its own. That's called their own load. Only they'll take. So they generally serve as a divide walls or partition walls. The partition wall is a thin internal wall which is constructed to divide the space within the building into rooms or areas. So load bearing walls, its design considerations. They are subjected to variety of loads, namely live loads, dead loads, wind loads, etc. Load bearing walls are structurally efficient when the load is uniformly distributed and when the structure is so planned that eccentricity of the loading on the wall is as small as possible, because the width is small and they cannot take uh, eccentric load much. So that's why it should be structurally efficient when the load is uniformly distributed and when the structure is so planned that eccentricity of load of the wall is as small as possible. Uh, because the entire load from the roof, for example, if you're considering a RCC uh, slab house, it may be as two or three floors, will go not more than that generally. So from that, the load from the each slab will transferred evenly to the walls around and from that walls to the foundation. So the distribution should be very evenly and it should not be a more eccentric loading. So in order to ensure uniformity of the loading, openings in walls should not be too large and bearings for lintels and bed blocks under beams should be liberal in size. So while transferring the load from the slab to the wall, you need to have the beams. So that is whenever there is an opening, so you need to give a lintels. So there are two options will come. So first, the from the slab through the beam the load will transfer to the wall, and another is above the opening there will be a structure called lintel to transfer the load from uh, the above constructed wall, that is above the opening as well as the uh, slab. Okay, so it should not be too large and bearings for lintel and bed blocks under beams should be liberal in size. That is, on both side of the openings at least you need to give the thickness of the wall. So if the thickness is 230 mm most of the time or 300 mm, so you need to give at least uh, 230 to 300 mm depending upon the size of the wall. You need to give the bearing on both side of the openings. Okay, so the thickness of the load bearing wall should be sufficient at all points to ensure that the stress due to the wall conditions of loading for which the structure is designed are within the limits prescribed for the particular type of the wall. So it means the thickness of the wall should be uniform, because while transferring from top to bottom, the thickness must be uniform. If you cannot reduce the thickness in between. Okay, so and also there should not be much cutting of the wall. This situation happens when you uh, run this electrical conduits along the wall. They will cut the wall sometime on both sides. The care should be taken. The cutting should be very minimum. So because when you cut the wall, the thickness will get reduced. That will become a weaker joint. So this is one situation. Okay. So the thickness of the bearing wall should be sufficient at all the points to ensure that the stresses due to the wall conditions of loading for which the structure is written are within the limits of prescribed for the particular type of the wall. The thickness should be uniform. That is, if the structure is designed for 230 mm thickness of the wall, then you need to maintain the thickness throughout the wall. So you cannot make it as 200 mm or 150 mm thick wall. So thus the actual thickness is computed as an average dimensions of masonry together with the specified joint thickness. In case which you cannot avoid, there you can go for average thickness. But still it has to meet the requirement. So that was regarding the load bearing wall. So load bearing wall, before that I want to say one thing. So generally it is constructed by bricks. It may be a traditional modular bricks, and the thickness will be 230 mm to 300 mm or sometime more than that. In older structures you'll find more than that. And um, for a very low cost building you can also use a 200 mm solid blocks. So not, it's for maybe one floor, not more than that. Low cost housing also you can do. And one more is lateritic stones, laterite stones, granite stones. But the thickness you need to maintain at least above 200 mm. That is 230, 300 like that. Okay. So we'll move on to the partition wall. A partition wall separating two adjoined rooms must often provide a barrier to the passage of sound from one another. This generally done, this partition walls, they are not load bearing walls, as I said earlier. They act as a barrier between two rooms. Or there is a big hall, you want to convert it into I mean cabins, you want to make a small room, small cabins. In that case, you will construct the partition walls. So they'll act as a barriers. Okay. So it should fulfill the following requirements. The partition wall should be strong enough to carry its own load. The partition wall should be strong enough to resist impact to which the building is likely to subject them. The partition wall should have a capacity to support suitable decorative surface. Yeah, that is nothing but sheets or sometime tiles. They may stick the tiles on both sides to improve the appearance. Generally, PVC boards, wooden. There are variety of materials are available. Depending upon the requirements, we can choose the material and we can improve the appearance by sticking on the sheets or sticking the tiles on them. Okay, but it has to withstand those loads actually. So the partition wall should have the capacity to support suitable decorative surface. The partition wall should be stable and strong enough to support some wall. A partition wall should be light, should be fire resistant. Okay. So types of partition walls. So these are the different types of partition: brick, clay block, concrete, glass, asbestos sheet, or GI partitions, and timber partitions. Let's see one by one. So brick is here, what they do is for the load bearing wall also they'll construct brick. So here they'll reduce the thickness actually. So brick partitions. Brick partitions are quite common since they are cheapest, and there are of three types: plain brick partition, reinforced brick partition, brick nogging partitions. So plain brick partitions, these are usually half brick thick. The bricks are laid as stretchers in cement mortar. Vertical joints are staggered in alternate blocks. The wall is plastered on both the sides. It is must actually. So you can imagine now they are usually half brick thick. The bricks are laid in stretchers, header and stretcher you have seen. So the same way it is in stretchers. In cement mortar they use. Vertical joints are staggered in alternate blocks because it should not be continuous joint. The walls are plastered on both sides. For reinforced brick partition, this is stronger than the ordinary brick partitions and used when better longitudinal bond is required. Through the reinforcement, they achieve this better longitudinal bonding. Okay, the reinforcement consists of steel meshed strips called XMET made from the thin rolled steel plates which are cut and stretched by a mesh into a diamond network. So they use like mesh actually. Okay, it's something like a mesh strip. So in between the layers they use this mesh and it will become a reinforced concrete partitions. Brick nogging partitions. It consists of brickwork built up within the framework of wooden members. The timber framework consists of a vertical members called struts and horizontal members called login pieces. So it has a frame made from the wood, both vertical and horizontal. So vertical members are called struts, horizontal members are called noggin pieces. The vertical members or struts are placed at 4 to 6 times the brick length. Okay, so every stretch it is to be provided 4 to 6 times the length of the brick. The noggin pieces are placed into the studs at vertical interval of about 60 to 90 centimeters. There are other types of the partition wall also there, that is clay block. Clay block, sometimes it is locally made blocks are also used for the construction of the partition wall. Not only the burnt brick here, uh, they are also serve the purpose as a partition walls. And the concrete means it is actually a reinforced one. Thin reinforced wall you can make like 100 thick walls you can also construct. Sometimes the specific work needs the very strong wall, like in some of the buildings for the security purpose you may be you need to do this walls, special walls. So they may not be a load bearing wall, or they may not be a main walls here. So in that cases, this is inside the building I'm saying. So otherwise minimum 100 is must actually, or depending upon the um, its dimensions, that is height and length. Okay, glass partitions you might have seen everywhere. This is very commonly used with aluminium frames. They make glass frames. Without also that depends on the thickness of the glass. So this is more commonly used. And asbestos sheet or GI partitions. So this is also common, but what they do is so on both sides they do painting and all those things which you cannot observe easily. And in this type of partitions, the glass is used either in the form of sheets or hollow blocks. Uh, any timber framework is prepared, and then sheets of glass are inserted in the panels, or it may be aluminum panels. The sheets of glass are kept in position in panels by applying putty, which is a mixture of linseed oil and whiting chalk. The important points are making this partitions are any decorative effect can be produced by using glass sheets of different colors. The partitions of glass sheets are light in weight, vermin-proof, soundproof, and damp-proof. They require less space, provide enough privacy, and transmit diffused light. In modern times, it is possible to use a special type of glass sheets such as wired glass, bulletproof glass, three-ply glasses, etc. So these are the different types actually. Uh, so one more is there, the hollow glass block in that. So the hollow glass blocks are translucent units of glass and also available in different size and shapes. It's another type in glass partition. The glass brick is one of is a form of hollow glass block. The silent features of this hollow blocks are something like this. The hollow glass blocks do not require any timber framework up to a maximum panel area of 11 meters square. The hollow glass blocks are designed not to carry any load except their own weight. So suitable arrangement is provided for the expansion of hollow glass blocks. And the hollow glass blocks are provided with projection grooves, etc. For the forming rigid joints, and sometimes the ties are provided at every third or fourth course. So these partitions are soundproof, fireproof and neat in appearance and impervious to the moisture. So this is regarding the glass. It has two. One is hollow glass and regular glass panels. Hollow glass brick it says. Okay. Uh, Regarding the concrete, so it may be sometimes partitions may be either a precast or cast in situ. Also it is done. Cast in situ means, as I said earlier, reinforcing wall it is. Reinforced wall construction. So with proper formwork only we can do. So precast it is just joining the panels which is already made and kept in cured in manufacturing factories. Okay. So, in the case of precast concrete work, the concrete slabs of suitable size are prepared and they are secured to the precast posters. The grooves on slabs corresponding to those on the posters uh, you can keep. Alternatively, the T-shaped and L-shaped units may be prepared because it's easy to lock. The thickness of the solid concrete slabs is about 40 mm, but the hollow concrete slabs can be used for as a partitions. In the case of cast in situ concrete, the concrete wall of thickness about 80 mm to 100 mm may be constructed. If it is desired to have a strong partition, the reinforcement may be provided in the concrete walls. The reinforcement is provided at the center of the thickness and placed in the horizontal and vertical directions. Okay. So this is regarding the concrete, and again the clay block. Uh, the blocks are prepared by clay or terracotta, and they may be either solid or hollow, as I said earlier. Uh, the blocks are usually of a section 300 by 200 mm, and thickness of the hollow blocks varies from 50 mm to 150 mm. If the thickness is in case of solid blocks is about 400 mm, the blocks are provided with grooves on top, bottom and sides to make the proper bond. These grooves help to making the joints rigid and serve as a key to the plaster. So plastering is easy. Sometimes the surface of the blocks are kept glazed in variety of colors. The joints are staggered in the vertical direction as usual. It is in this type of partitions, the clay blocks are efficient in preventing the fire and passage of sound. They are light in weight and non-shrinkable. So this is the advantage of the clay block. So we have discussed brick with half brick thickness of wall. The same bricks, burnt brick can be used. Clay block is a separate one. It's made up of terracotta, clay. Concrete, we have seen it may be a precast or cast in situ, or it may be RCC or plain for small heights. You can make a small panels and you can join them in T and L shapes to get a good body. Okay, asbestos, GI and glass also we have discussed in two types, and next is asbestos and GI sheets. So asbestos cement plastering is partitions is, it is possible to use the asbestos cement sheet for forming partitions. The framework of wood is prepared and asbestos sheets suitably cut are fixed either to one side or both sides of the frame. That arrangement can be done either one side fixing or two side fixing. These partitions are light in weight, durable, impervious to water, economical and fire resistance. The galvanized iron or GIA sheets can also be used in the place of asbestos. Similar way here. Okay, the patented slabs of asbestos sheets are also available. They generally consist of two sheets of 10 mm thickness and they are attached in a inner corrugated sheet of thickness about 5 mm. These sheets are placed in a position and joined by a cement mortar. The surface of the partition can be painted or distempered. This is better form of the asbestos cement sheet partition. So either you can use GI or asbestos sheet in the similar manner. Okay, you may get patented one, that is their own manufacturing styles or the materials ready-made available. You will come and fix it that. Okay, the other one is you will bring the plain sheets and you will make according to your requirement. Okay, so that is regarding the asbestos and cement sheets. Here you can do nice painting on both sides. It may be distemper or coloring, color wash. It can be done. Okay, and the last one is a timber partition. So in this type of partition, the wooden framework is properly supported on floor and fixed on the side of walls. The formwork, which consists of horizontal and vertical members, can either be plastered or covered with boards, etc. on both sides. So what are the advantages? They are light in weight and therefore can easily constructed where a base for partition is not available. You are just going to start in the plain floor. There is no base, special base for that. Okay, they are rigid and triangulation of framing is adopted, and to transfer some of the load on the of the wall. They are easy to construct. They are cheap at places where the wood is available in plenty. So what are the disadvantages? Uh, they should not be constructed at the places where the damp is expected, example basement floor and ground floors. They do not possess fire resisting property. They do not prevent the passage of sound to an appropriate extent. They are likely to decay or eaten away by the termites. So these are the disadvantages of timber partitions. So there are two types, two categories in making this partition. One is a common or stud partition, making the studs vertical members, and horizontal members you will make the timber partition. And another is trussed or braced partition. So a different type, truss type partition. These two are the categories. So in a stud partition, the partition consists of vertical members known as studs and they are bridged between two horizontal members. So in braced one, the two varieties of forms of truss partition. These partitions are similar to the common partition, but braces, steel straps and bolts will also be used in addition to the studs, head, sill and nogging pieces. So for this detail, you can refer any of the building materials and construction books. It's available. Next, we'll move on to the cavity wall. So this is somewhat a special type of wall which is not common. Okay. So the cavity wall, as the name suggests, there will be a cavity or hollow space between the walls. The cavity wall or hollow wall is the one in which it consists of two separate walls called ladder or skins with a cavity or a gap in between them. Gap between the two thin walls. The two leaves of a cavity wall may be of equal thickness if it is a non-load bearing. The internal leaf may be thicker than the external leaf to meet the structural requirement because it has to bear the load from the in a vertical direction. So that's why. So cavity walls are often constructed for giving a better thermal insulation after the building. So wherever the thermal insulation is necessary, uh, so in that places it is more popular or cavity walls are the best solution. It is also prevents the dampness to enter the building and act as a sound insulation. So both thermal and you know it will avoid the passing of dampness from outside to the inside. It will act as a soundproof It will give the thermal insulation because it will not transfer the heat from outside to inside, and also it prevents the dampness enter into the room or enter into the building. The inner and outer skins should not be less than 10 centimeter each, that is half brick. The inner and outer skins, nothing but outer walls, both are two different walls. So at least should not be less than 10 centimeter each or thickness of the half brick. So this is what it looks actually. External or internal. These are the arrangements to be done to keep in the proper distance, to maintain the proper distance between the walls, because they are thin actually. Sometimes if you want to provide any insulating material between them, that also possible. This is cavity wall using bricks. So what are the advantages? There is no direct contact between the inner and outer leaves of walls except of wall ties. Hence, moisture cannot travel inside the building. The first advantage. The cavity between the two leaves is full of air, which is a bad conductor of heat. Hence, transmission of heat from external face to the inside of the room is very much reduced. Cavity walls have 25% greater insulating value than the solid walls. Cavity walls also offer good insulation against the sound. The nuisance of efflorescence is also very much reduced. They are cheap and economical. So loads and foundation are reduced because of the fission solid. Because you are reducing the thickness also a little bit. So what are the general features of a cavity wall? So in the case of brick cavity wall, each is half brick thick. Such wall is capable of taking a load of 2-story of the domestic type. If heavier loads are to be supported, the thickness of the inner leaf can be increased. The cavity wall should neither be less than 40 mm nor for more than 100 mm in width. Should not be less than 40 mm and should not be more than 100 mm width. Okay. So the inner and outer skins are adequately tied together by means of the special wall ties placed in suitable arrangement at the rate at least ties to a square meter of wall area, or per square meter wall area. The ties should be provided. The ties are staggered. Ties must be placed at 300 mm vertical intervals at all angles, and doors and windows jambs to increase the stability. The ties are also staggered. Ties must be placed at 300 mm vertical intervals at all angles, and doors and window jambs to increase the stability. So I'll show you that. Since the cavity separates the two leaves of the wall to prevent the moisture to enter, it is essential to provide a vertical damp proof course at window and door reveals. The damp proof course should be flexible. Okay. So before that, I'll show you what it is. This is how the cavity wall looks, made from the brick. So outer wall, inner wall, 2-inch air space is a metal tie. That's what I said, ties, metal tie, flashing to form a cavity gutter here. Uh, that is from the outer wall or inner wall. So weep hole mortar is omitted here for this, only one brick. So foundation called a mortar joint. This is how the cavity wall looks like, made from the bricks. Here both are same thickness. So 2-inch means 5 centimeter thick gap here. So this will act as a uh, cavity gutter. So it is said, since the cavity separates the two leaves of the wall to prevent the moisture to enter, it is essential to provide a vertical damp course at window and door rails. The damp-proof course should be a flexible one. Generally, we provide the horizontal one, so you need to give the vertical damp-proof course also. So prevention of the, what are the purpose of the providing the cavity wall? So the construction of the cavity wall, also I gave the details in the study material. You can go through it. So what are the purpose of the providing the cavity wall? So when the cavity wall construction is adopted, there is a considerable decrease in the prevention of dampness from inside to the outside to the inside of the building. Uh, one. The second one is heat insulation. The air in the cavity acts as a non-conductor for heat, and hence the uniform temperature is maintained inside the building. And next is a sound insulation. The considerable portion of the external noise is not allowed to enter the inside of the house by adopting the cavity wall construction. And load on foundation, due to the less solid thickness, because you kept as hollow of wall, the loads in the foundation is considerably reduced. So that's what I said earlier. The thickness also reduced a little bit because you have separated, you kept the gap as hollow. So efflorescence, the construction of cavity wall results in the reduction in the nuisance of efflorescence to a great extent. Okay, that process is totally reduced because of the gap between them, and economical. In addition to the above mentioned advantages, it is found that construction of cost of cavity wall is 20% less than the construction of the corresponding solid wall. So it is definitely economical one for the larger structures. So this completes the different types of walls. So here we studied the uh, load bearing wall, partition wall and cavity wall. So what are the different types? What are the different materials used for them? And what are the purpose and properties of these walls we have seen. So with this the module 2 is completed. Thank you.